ChatGPT just dropped back to back 4.1 and 4.1 Nano and Mini, as well as they released O3 and O4 Mini. But it seems like Google has responded in kind by releasing Gemini 2.5 Flash. They said today they're rolling out the early version of Gemini 2.5 Flash in preview through the Gemini API via Google AI Studio and Vertex AI. And I'll show you a little later how to actually navigate to actually use Gemini Flash, but let's get into the meat of what Gemini 2.5 Flash is and what makes it so great. It said building upon the popular foundation of 2.5, the 2.0 new version delivers a major upgrade in reasoning capabilities while still prioritizing speed and cost. Gemini 2.5 Flash is truly a fully hybrid reasoning model, giving developers the opportunity to turn thinking on and off. Basically, this is kind of like Claude 3.7 Sonnet. 3.7 Sonnet, I believe, had the ability to know when to think deeper and longer and when to just answer whenever you wanted to. And it seems like that's basically what Gemini 2.5 Flash is, where it now has the ability to understand this question doesn't need a lot of brain power to actually answer the question, but maybe a more complex question does, and I'll use more longer time to actually answer this question. They said even with thinking off, developers can maintain the fast speeds of 2.0 Flash and improve performance. So it seems like without the thinking on, it's still comparable, if not better than 2.0, at least in terms of performance. And it probably keeps up in terms of speed. They said Gemini 2.5 models are thinking models capable of reasoning through their thoughts before responding. Instead of immediately generating an output, the model can perform a thinking process to better understand the prompt, breaking down complex tasks and plan responses. On complex tasks that require multiple steps of reasoning, like solving math problems and analyzing research questions, the thinking process allows the model to arrive at a more accurate and comprehensive answer. They said, in fact, Gemini 2.5 Flash performs strongly on hard prompts, referencing LM Arena. They said second to only, of course, 2.5 Pro, which makes sense. It's basically almost as good as 2.5 Pro, but using the thinking mode, it really ramps it all the way up at the top of the AI race, which is good to have a hybrid model like that, because sometimes you don't want to just use deep research or those type of longer time chain responses to answer questions. Sometimes you need to switch back and forth, but it's easier just to have it in a one-stop shop. They have it here. They have this chart right here that talks about Gemini 2.5 Flash prices, and it compares it against Gemini 2.0 Flash, OpenAI O4 Mini, Claude 3.7 Sonnet, Grok 3 Beta, and DeepSeek R1, of course. And as you see across the board, it's basically the cheapest model on there as far as input price, only second to Gemini 2.0 Flash, and output price, it's the same thing, only second to Gemini 2.0. So as far as pricing, it's the second cheapest when it comes to some of these larger models, which it is kind of interesting to see that OpenAI's prices are usually always at the top of the list or close to the top of the list, where we see Grok 3 sits at $3 for input price compared to Claude Sonnet 3.7 being at $3, and OpenAI O4 Mini is $1.10, but the output cost for O4 Mini is $4.40. Claude 3.7 Sonnet output is $15. Same thing with Grok 3, which are the more expensive models for sure. Going across the board, of course, they're not beating out like models like O4 Mini when it comes to some of the mathematical answers, but it's still pretty good. It's holding their own, about like 9% off in most categories when it comes to, of course, coding, science, mathematics. So this is their most cost-effective thinking model. It's a 2.5 Flash, continues to lead as a model with the best price to performance ratio. So if you're worried about the most bang for your buck, this is definitely the model you want to go for. Definitely get fine-grained control to finish thinking, where you can have a trade-off in budgets, so you can have tokens that you can use within the API that can go towards the thinking, or you can put thinking to absolute 0 and you can just get the benefits of just 2.5 Flash, which is a little bit better than 2.0 Flash. And they gave you some responses that wouldn't really need the deep thinking. What is thank you in Spanish? Or how many provinces does Canada have? Those should be immediate answers. But some that may require more medium reasoning is you roll a 2 dice. What's the probability they add up to 7? That's more of a medium-sized question. Another question is, my gym has a pickup hours for basketball between 9 and 3 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and between 2 p.m. and 8 p.m. on Tuesdays and Saturdays. If I work 9 to 6 p.m. 5 days a week, and I want to play 5 hours of basketball on weekdays, create a schedule for me to make it all work. Which is a more detailed, more wordy question, and that's the medium. A high reasoning question says a cantilever beam, a length of 3 meters, has a rectangular cross section with B equals 0.1 m, height equals 0.2 m, and so on and so forth. Basically, a really detailed scientific question is what a high reasoning is, and that's what you would want to use for the deep thinking. But tell me what you think down below. Do you think that this is the greatest model out right now and rivals some of the 4.1 GPT models, or do you think that this is in line with 03 and 04 mini? With that being said, you should definitely comment, like, and subscribe if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest AI news, tech news, and robotics news. You should definitely like and subscribe. With that being said, your boy Dexter out.